Here's the thing, and no one with the Warriors
It'll
organization.
Be before they do the starting lineup introductions. Because ring night happens before, and they bring them all out individually. That would be the moment where he might be vulnerable to some cat calls.
I wonder what it's going to sound like. It is a conflicting feeling. There's no doubt about it. But I have arrived at this spot, which is, in the end, while no one with the organization is going to want to hear this right now, and I'm not trying to make it sound like it's not complex.
You don't have to couch it. Come at them, Mark. Come at people.
No, I'm going to come at the Warriors. They didn't do anything wrong. But Draymond Green just did him a favor. They just did him a favor.
Long term. Short term, he did no favors.
That's true.
I know what you're saying about long term, because now they have clarity, David, as I borrow from Schitt's Creek.
So...
I don't know if you ever saw that show, Moira, the patriarch of the show.
No,
she speaks with a certain cadence, David, clarity, and
but when you say clarity, it sounds like Clarice, and then my mind goes to like that's it's so unsettling. But anyway,
I ate Jordan Poole's liver with a nice Chianti.
It's so gross.
Yeah, it's an incredible performance.
Anyway,
but
go ahead.
Yes, long term, they now have clarity in terms of who stays and who goes. Draymond Green is not getting an extension. And by the way, and we'll play the Steve Kerr audio coming up, Jordan Poole is. They talk about how Jordan's going to be here for a long time. And so Jordan Poole's getting the bag. Draymond's not getting the bag. So long-term, fine. Draymond rather, did them a, quote, favor. But in the short term, he absolutely created yet another storm, a blank storm, based on his own inability to control his little temper.
I don't disagree with that. By the way, here's Draymond. If you missed some of the audio over the weekend, Draymond Green and some of his apology.
The embarrassment that Jordan has to deal with, that this team has to deal with, that this organization has to deal with, but also Jordan's family. His family saw that video. His mother, his father saw that video. And quite frankly, if my mother saw that video, I know how my mother would feel. I know what her I know what her reaction would be, and I know what her next step would be. And so for that, I apologize to his mother and his father, and his family, his friends that care for him, because that is a sense of, or a level of embarrassment that they have to deal with too.
What a lot of the players and coaches have talked about, and this started with Steve Kerr, and I thought this was one of the most important things, and it was not a sound clip because it was only 2 words. But it's important for every Warrior fan to know this, I think. When Steve Kerr was asked about, has there been a breach of trust between Draymond and the organization, Steve Kerr stopped, he thought about it, and then he went, no comment, which is all the comment we need. In fact, it's way stronger than a comment. The answer is yes. It's been a massive breach of trust.
Well, then why wasn't the answer yes? Because he didn't want to call it out like that?
He didn't want to go there. Obviously, there was something that probably would have been said there that is not ready to be said. Let's put it that way. I mean, Draymond was asked about trust. Here's what he said.
For me, that is the task at hand, to rebuild trust in our locker room, to pull everything back together as it needs to be pulled together in order to compete and defend a championship. And although that is the least of my worries right now, it has to stay at the forefront, because most importantly is everybody put the work in order to compete for a common goal. And I can't allow myself to be the reason that doesn't happen.
Again, I cannot allow myself to be the reason that happens a second time, because I already allowed myself to be the reason that it didn't happen coming off a 73-9 year. So
don't say a second time, because it's way more than that.
Well, I mean,
it's way more than that.
Well, whatever. You get kicked out in Charlotte because you're barking at James Wiseman. You get 2 T's and ejected. Who cares? It's a regular season game.
Let's go to deeper stuff. I mean, you ran Kevin Durant out of town. You ran him out of town.
Fine. Yeah, but I mean...
Not fine.
But you got 2 chips out of it.
Look,
And if Kevin Durant doesn't get hurt, you win a third chip. So,
and they won last year, and we all loved it. And I don't think a lot of people look back on the Kevin Durant era. A lot of us look back on it and go, man, great basketball, unbelievable show. But none of us look back on that with this emotional love and connection. We don't. We loved the first one, and we loved the last one more than we did the ones in the middle. That's just a fact,
well,
okay?
It's because of the way it played out, in large part, to your point, between Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. And you mentioned trust. And Steve Kerr, he was asked whether or not Draymond Green broke the trust, and he wouldn't comment. Well, if the trust is broken, if the trust has been broken, then why was there no punishment to Draymond Green? That's where I have a little bit of a disconnect between the way the Warriors responded and the way the Warriors are now not commenting on this. Because if the trust was broken, and I believe that the trust has been broken, and I believe that they knew the severity of the punch before the video got leaked. So if the trust was broken, why wasn't there a punishment for Draymond Green?
Look,
and yet now we're going to say that the trust is broken?
But the bottom line
That's
is...
a disconnect, Mark.
I don't agree, because I don't know what the punishment was, and I'm not going to act like a suspension that's public is the only punishment that's possible. There's all kinds of things that could be done inside the team structure that are punishment. And
such as?
I have no idea. I've never run an NBA team, but him being away from the team,
right.
There obviously could be financial implications. There can be behavioral implications within the team. I don't know, but it is important. I know that this is intricate, but it's important to point out that these are two different events. If the public sees it versus the public not seeing it, and the Warriors came out with a decision prior to knowing that the public was going to see this.
See, to me, that's a cop-out, because there shouldn't be two different things.
But it is. It is.
Well, that's where
there's so
Steve
much,
Kerr and company, that's where they have egg on their face.
I disagree, because any one of us in our lives, like, we absolutely should be able to relate to this, where if you just go to your worst moment and how you handled it, or even a bad moment within your family, how you handled it versus what if it went to Twitter? What if it went to Instagram and TikTok? And what if it was blasted out to the world? Would it be a different thing for you? It would.
Yes, but that's an unfair comp, because I don't live my life underneath that bright light. My life is not a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Okay, but then go to any other industry. You don't have to make it about you. Like, I just think this is A to B. Like, if the public sees something bad versus the public doesn't, it's different. I mean, look at the NFL, okay? Ray Rice, we saw it. Deshaun Watson, we didn't. Ray, you out. Deshaun, $250 million guaranteed. We didn't see it. So it changes. The whole calculus gets changed.
It's a little bit of a touchy one, because you're talking about an absolute act of domestic violence.
I'm not calling them the same act. I'm not calling them the same act.
You don't know what happened to Deshaun Watson. You have no idea.
Correct.
Now, you've got allegations from dozens of women.
That's the point.
Which, by the way, two different grand juries decided that they did not want to or could not press charges. So you're leaping from a jurisprudence standpoint to a place that
I can fix the hole in that argument then. Tyreek Hill running up and down the field. Ray Rice, get the hell out of the league. What's the difference?
Yeah, again,
we saw it. It's the exact same act.
I think Joe Mixon would be one that would be
there's video. There's video of Joe.
Absolutely.
We saw it.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So, but in this one, what happened, and they knew what happened, and yet we're going to handle it in-house, and then the video comes out, and now has the trust been broken, no comment. It just seems to me like there's a bit of a chasm between what happened and now what is going to happen. And I disagree with your contention that, whatever punishment they can, what punishment, you're going to take away his locker or make him, I mean, what kind of a punishment?
You have to do up-downs.
You're on timeout, exactly.
No, listen.
You're going to run gassers at practice?
But I talked about this on Friday. This is not, in my opinion, this is not for us to get a pound of flesh. And if you want a suspension, that's just because you want a pound of flesh. I don't know who that helps, especially until we've heard from Jordan. I don't know what Jordan wants. I don't know what the precedent is here. We usually don't know about this. All the NBA players, they're all sitting here going, this happens more than you realize. I mean, what happened when Michael Jordan clocked Steve Kerr? Did they suspend Michael Jordan? I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. Like, it's just...
Was it the same punch, though?
I don't know.
Because this punch, when you see this punch, and unfortunately, we see this punch. And, there's another piece to this. Why did this get leaked? If let's just say that it was any other player, if it was Andrew Wiggins or Clay or Steph, God forbid, who threw a similar punch, does the video get leaked?
I don't know.
Or does this video get leaked because somewhere, someone inside the building decided, you know what, enough from Draymond Green. I've had it with Draymond going unchecked with all his bullying behavior. This video is coming out.
I have a really hard time believing that this has ever been anything personal. This has always felt like it was money. TMZ knows that somebody got punched. Somebody had access to the video, realized they could change their financial life, and did. That to me
That's
is
just an assumption.
It's an assumption.
It's an assumption.
But why would somebody be like, I'm going to take down Draymond Green within the organization when the whole organization, everybody who matters, has come out and said this is the worst possible thing that could have happened?
Or could be somebody looking for a financial payoff who also might have, it's an
axe to grind. Who knows?
Until we find out who leaked it, which we probably never will, because if they find out who leaked the video, this person, if they fire this person and then that person goes out and says, hey, I'm the person who leaked it and I got fired, then maybe we find out who leaked it. But we probably will never find out who leaked the video.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just wondering about the idea of a punishment, because I'm not looking for a pound of flesh, but I'm also looking for a proper punishment for this act, because I see the act and, whatever Jordan Poole says, if Jordan Poole says, oh, yeah, I had it coming to me, he shouldn't be punished, well, then that's fine. That changes everything.
Who knows? Well, there is one puzzle piece. This very much feels like that puzzle that you worked on all weekend, and then you get to the end and you're like, where's the last piece?
It's under the couch.
Damn it, I'm looking everywhere. Yeah, it's under the couch. Did the dog eat it? Where they held that the last piece of the puzzle is Jordan Poole talking. And that's going to be very interesting, not only to
But he won't say a word until he gets his contract. I guarantee you.
I don't know. I don't know why that would affect it. The Warriors do not seem knocked off kilter at all. In fact, they seem to be even more motivated now to sign him to an extension. Do we have that? So listen to the way Steve Kerr talks about Jordan Poole after the game last night.
What's exciting with Jordan is that he's a shot creator, and there's so much value to that in the league. You have to have someone who can break down the defense and create a shot, either, for himself or for a teammate. And so to be able to see that from Jordan over the last couple of years, see him blossoming, confidence growing, he's someone we're going to rely on for many years to come, and that's exciting. So we got a lot of good young players, but Jordan is by far the most advanced, and we're going to lean on him heavily now and well into the future.
Okay,
well into the future.
So I'm always fascinated when famous people in sports get in front of a microphone, and then we hear what they tell you. All the media was asking for there was a comment about Jordan Poole's play. Steve Kerr, who is well aware, is trained for years and years and years now with regard to what I say publicly is going to get thrown in the ethos. It's going to get spun. It's going to get talked about, discussed. All he had to say was, well, Jordan Poole's amazing. Did you see this? The way he moves the ball? Did you see the way? He is a special player. He could have easily given that soundbite, but instead, twice, he chose to comment about how the organization's going to rely on Jordan Poole going forward. They are trying to tell you what they're trying to do. They're trying to tell you that they plan to sign Jordan Poole. And in fact, I guess the only question would be, does Jordan agree to the number? I don't know. Like, I've sat here with you. We've long wondered, does Jordan Poole want a bigger role? Does he want to be the one somewhere? I don't know. But
Right.
again,
you
that's
don't know Jordan Poole.
That's why I get to the idea that Draymond probably just helped the Warriors. Because if they are sitting here looking at their financial future, I still don't know if they can fit Poole and Wiggins under the same budget just for next year alone. But if you're looking at where this is all headed, and now you have this act take place, well, I mean, Draymond stepped up, raised his hand, and said, I'll be the one who goes. You don't need to pay me.
It might have been the case already anyway.
Might have been.
When he comes out a month and a half ago or whatever and says, I want a max, get me a max, and the team doesn't really make any noise or any movement toward giving him that max. I think that the writing has been on the wall for Draymond Green. The Wiggins question is fascinating because of the way he played in the postseason. It feels like you can't afford to be without him. Draymond Green's here for 2 more years if Draymond Green wants to be here for 2 more years. The Jordan Poole comments
sort of contractually.
Absolutely.
You can always trade him.
Fine, trade him. I mean, and he takes that player option with him. So, you're going to trade him to whatever fill in the blank team. That team's going to have to deal with the fact that he can opt in. He can opt in and pull an Iguodala and not show up. I mean,
I just mean you could trade him next year. I don't think it's going to happen this year.
You could trade him right now.
Yeah, you
but
could.
Draymond Green could pull an Iguodala and just choose not to show up to that team.
Then it's an expiring contract next year for $27 million.
But if you're Draymond Green, you control your own narrative in many ways because let's say they trade him to, I don't know, Memphis, which is where Iguodala famously didn't show up, right? So, they trade him to Memphis and Draymond's like, I don't want to play for Memphis. I'm just not going to show up. All of a sudden, the threat of that makes another team less likely to trade for Draymond. So he controls his own narrative in many, many ways.
To a degree. And again, the Warriors, I still think we're in a spot where looming over here as everyone goes, we're Team Jordan Poole and gosh, the Draymond Green situation. Looming over here on the right is through all of the drama and regaining trust. Through all of that, the Warriors would like to win. They feel like they're in the middle of a championship window, and I think they know, or at least they feel, same thing we feel, they got a lot better chance to do that with Draymond Green this year than they do without him.
Which Draymond Green, though? Because the Draymond Green that you need is an edgy Draymond Green. He's mostly combative. He's a ref hater. He's a physical presence. He's an intimidator and all the rest of it. So how is that Draymond going to be the Draymond that comes back if he's been defanged in many ways? So I want Draymond Green to take some sort of a punishment. I want some self-reflection. I want him to confront his anger issues. But at the same time, I want Draymond to still play with that aggressive nature. Can those two things coexist?
This is the great question. This is what we're going to be watching this year to see if Draymond can still be himself, if the team will allow him to be himself, if he will allow him to be himself, and can he ride that line? Because the answer through the years has largely been he can mostly ride the line. But yeah, he's going to fall over it at least 2-3 times a year. Not to this level. This is the farthest over the line he's ever fallen that we know about. But can he go back to riding that line? I don't know. Dave in Oakland here with Willard and Dibs. Hey, Dave, what are you doing?
Hey, fellas, just driving to work. Wanted to take you to task a little bit, Mark, on this idea that the Warriors shouldn't have changed what their approach after the video came out. To me, this is like a restaurant having a spate of sick customers, and they can do one thing, but if a video comes out of someone in the kitchen spitting in the soup, they got to change. They got to change course because ultimately they're responsible to the customers and the broader community. And when people see this video, I mean, there's just no, you can't pretend that it's not as awful as it is.
So, Dave, here's why I disagree with your comp. I understand what you're saying, and if you want to take issue with how the Warriors handled it initially, you certainly can be my guest. But in this case, in your comp, the soup is Jordan Poole. In your case, the soup is soup. It doesn't have any feelings. Jordan Poole is a human being and a very important one. And the reason I don't think you can change course when the video comes out is because of Jordan. You told Jordan on Thursday, we're handling this in-house. We got you, my man. but at the same time, we're not suspending Draymond. This is how we feel it's best to handle it, and the organization has press conferences and moves forward. Next day, video. And now you go, okay, 15-game suspension. If I'm Jordan Poole, I go, wait a minute. If you thought it was worth that, you do that for me initially. But now you're going to do it to save face because of PR, because of the fans. That's my issue. If they had come out and suspended him immediately, I would have had no problem with it. How could I? Again, like, this is sort of unprecedented through our eyes. So all my point is you can't switch once the fans know, because that makes Jordan feel dismissed, I believe.
I think it's even worse if you don't. I think it's the world sees what happened. Like, before the world saw what happened, Jordan could say, yeah, all right, I'll be a good soldier. Give me my $30 million over 4 years. After the world sees it, then it's even worse for the Warriors to say, yeah, whatever, we're not changing course.
Yeah, I hear you, Dave. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I just don't. If I'm
and
Jordan
they never
Poole,
totally ruled out a suspension. They just said they were going to handle it in house, and they didn't foresee
it. And then Draymond came out and said, "I'm going to be there on ring night."
Right, exactly. And
which they're not going to let him say. Remember, it's not like
with
Draymond.
That level of defiance and that lack of real contrition, it didn't really play well with fans. And so now the whole idea about ring night, which is coming up here a week from tomorrow, and the whole specter of what is going to happen when it comes to Draymond Green, that's not something that the organization wants to have out there yet. It's a reality, Mark, because fans were not assuaged or soothed by Draymond Green in his press conference.
Yeah, well, although, I don't know. I think the review of Draymond's press conference was more positive than negative. It was the side of Draymond.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was the side of Draymond that we don't usually see.
It was a step, and I was looking for 3 or 4 steps.
Okay.
I'm still looking at the YouTube, and I'm looking at a lot of social media and a lot of fan commentary. If it was 90% anti-Draymond before, it might be 50% now. So some of those fans are like, okay, he showed some real humility, some contrition, but many fans kind of saw that as still him being defiant and being too defensive.
Well, I mean, look, there are fans who are going to be all across the board here. Same with players. I mean, Dame Lillard came out yesterday and was like, look, I mean, this stuff happens. It's unfortunate that there's video. And Draymond Green was completely in the wrong, but Jordan Poole also needs to know that when you shove someone, you better get your arms up. I was like, wow, I don't know. I don't know. I understand.
We don't have video of Bobby Portis and Nikola Mirotic, and yet Bobby Portis got an 8-game suspension, and there was no video of that.
Right.
Now, granted, there was a broken eye socket in that punch, but Draymond Green is fortunate that Jordan Poole wasn't severely injured.
Very, very. Now,